to welcome Devamrita Swami, if you could all please give him a round of applause.
I thought tonight to continue a subject that I was speaking about Friday night in Hamilton. So I figured we'll try it out for size in Auckland. It seems to be, at first, a simple subject, but you'd be surprised how much thought and investment is required. Energy in order to counteract a very prevalent misconception, one that's all around us and subconsciously woven into us. Somehow or other, the culture we've grown up in has this notion that all you get is one body, one lifetime, one opportunity. So you might think, well, what's such a big deal about that? I mean, life is going on somehow or other. How life originated, we don't know. We can't even remember our own birth, right? You can't remember taking birth. And you certainly don't want to think about your death. So just see, when you try to get a grip on your life, you're dealing with something very nebulous and vague, because how do you grab on to your life? You can't remember its beginning when you popped out of your mother's womb, and you don't want to think about the end. So it's all about what you do in between birth and death. When you think about it, it seems logical. Between birth and death, you just try to be as happy as you can. Get as many magic moments as you can. Can't win them all, but you try. And if you can help a few persons along the way, so much the better. Hurting someone is inevitable, you know that. But you try to minimize that and make your way through life. As far as what happens at the end of this body, who can say? And why should that be a concern about? Often we're told that if you think too much about what might or might not happen after the end of this body, you'll miss out on exploiting the present moments. So therefore, the emphasis is on just be in the moment. But the yogis understand that you cannot fully be in the present moment unless you have knowledge of the past and the future. Because the present moment is jam-packed with reactions from the past and reactions awaiting you in the future. So you can't chop out the present from the past and the future. Let's consider some basic yoga knowledge. Take your body. You look in the mirror, you see a body. But as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, the prime Bhakti Yoga text, the body is a bag of reactions, karmic reactions. So someone whose eyes are trained in knowledge, when they look in the mirror and see their body, they're seeing a whole sequence of action and reaction. People have different bodies with their different degrees of beauty, intelligence, physical strength. That's all due to karma. So the body is shaped by karma. And with that body shaped by past karma, we're acting in the future. We're acting, in the present to create a future body so we can experience the reactions to our present actions. So it's a chain of action and reaction. So how do we see all that? Ordinarily, you can't. This is why the Bhakti Yoga texts stress seeing through the eyes of knowledge, not ordinary seeing. When it comes to ordinary seeing, you're actually not seeing. Unless the eyes are trained, you won't even notice what's right in front of your eyes. Just like some of you remember studying biology or chemistry at the uni, and you were assigned to look through a microscope. You can do that. Anyone can do it. 6-year-old child, 20-year-old university student. You can all look through a microscope. But unless you've been instructed about what you're looking at, you won't recognize it. So just looking is not enough. You have to see through the eyes of knowledge. So this is Krishna's point in Bhagavad Gita. Unless your eyes are trained in higher knowledge, you won't see or understand what's right in front of you. And here is an example that lets us know that. In the 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about changing bodies. So immediately you say, aha, reincarnation. Yes, that is a possible option for me in the future. But Krishna's point is that even in this lifetime, before that end known as death, you have been changing bodies. It's very logical when you think about it. The baby's body has a future to become a boy or a girl. The boy or girl's body has a future to go from being an older child to a teenager. Teenage body has a future, young adulthood. Young adulthood body has a future, middle age. Middle-aged bodies have a future, old age. Old age bodies have a future, death. But Krishna says, why do you stop it there? You've already had experience of your core identity going on, even though the body is always changing. From infancy to youth, teenage years, and so on. So why do you arbitrarily decide, death, that's it? You could, with just as much reason, go the other way. Death is not the end. Death is just another change in a sequence of changes. So therefore, Krishna explains that for one who has been born, death is certain. And for one who has died, birth is certain. So things are revolving in a cycle, just like the seasons. You know, autumn will be followed by winter, winter will be followed by spring, spring will be followed by summer. All of nature is cyclic. But when it comes to our own existence, we somehow or other have been culturally molded to think one body, one life, one opportunity. So therefore you feel the pressure on you. You've got to get as much as you can in this lifetime. You've got to get it while you can. And then your life is worthwhile. Okay, get it while you can and help others to get it while they can. You can be a little compassionate and merciful in that way. But all the getting it while you can, whether for yourself or for those near and dear to you, is in terms of one lifetime. And therefore we feel such pressure on us. There are things I have to experience, places I have to go, people I have to meet. I've got to get that all done before the end of the match. So how do you want people to think of you and your life? Will you be satisfied to just be a memory? Some people say like that. The goal of life is to live on as a memory. What do you think? You'll be satisfied passing on into extinction as long as you know someone remembers you. Will that satisfy you? You might think it will. Or here's another way to look at the same situation. You could tell yourself, even though I will no longer exist at the end of this body, I can take heart in just being a part of the web of life, the chain of being. Even though I will pass into extinction, nature goes on, the web of life goes on. So even though I will no longer exist, if I can contribute to the web of life in that way, I can feel some meaning and fulfillment. What do you think? But when you're gone, you're gone. What does it matter to you whether someone remembers you or not? But sometimes people have this implicit faith that even though I'm finished, the web of life will go on. I'll have made my contribution to the web of life. But from the yogic point of view, this is a tragedy. Why have you arbitrarily decided that you're finished? By doing that, by thinking in that way, you avoid responsibility. I don't have to worry about reactions to my actions because I'll just go on as a memory. I'll be part of the web of life, that even though I'm finished, the web of life goes on. Well, where are you while the web of life is going on? I'm finished, but the web of life goes on. So this is why the very beginning of Bhagavad Gita is so important, because it clearly emphasizes how your fate in terms of personal existence is not tied to the fate of your body. The bhakti yogis understand that this emphasis on one life, one body, one opportunity has destroyed the vitality of human life. Because the yoga texts explain to us that particularly this human body, in comparison to all the other types of bodies, the human body is a junction. It provides opportunities to get out of the whole system of repeated birth and death. But if you waste the opportunity of this junction, that is the greatest loss. Because the human body gives you the advanced consciousness by which you can participate in a discussion like we're having now. So nature is very kind. It gives the right body to match your desires and your karma. Not just your desires, because you may desire a most beautiful, intelligent, and strong body, but you don't have the karma to pay for it. Just like, if given a choice, everyone would rather have a Mercedes or BMW or a Rolls Royce or a Bentley than have a Ford. So you may desire that vehicle, but do you have the karma to pay for it? So desire and karma push us into a particular next body. Now, many people say, well, as long as it's a human body, well, why do I care? Well, first of all, it's not guaranteed that we'll get a human body in the next life. It depends on how we're utilizing the present human body. Because nature is very equitable. Nature matches your next body to your state of consciousness in this lifetime. In other words, so to speak, what do you need a human body next time for? I was once discussing with my father. He was very different from me. I was discussing with someone today. My father's guru was Hugh Hefner. You know who he was. I won't bother explaining if you don't know who he was, but I can briefly explain. He was the supreme hedonist. Loud and proud. So, my father took the Playboy philosophy very seriously as espoused by Hugh Hefner. And so I knew that, and I started studying Bhagavad Gita and the Bhakti knowledge and applying it, the mantra meditation. So I said, hey, Dad, there are other bodies that are much better at doing what Hugh Hefner, recommends be done all the time. He said, really? What body is that? I said, you in your next life, you could be a pigeon. Do you know what pigeons are doing up in the trees? We said, really? Tell me. I said, the pigeons are at it 30 times a day. He said, wow. That's just what I want to be. So nature is kind. It matches the vehicle to the desires and karma paying power of the person. So in other words, my father, a loyal subscriber to Playboy Magazine, I don't think the magazine exists anymore, but for decades he was a loyal subscriber, especially the centerfold, Yes, in India they have Playboy Magazine, or they had it. He doesn't want to admit. He was laughing. He knows what the centerfold is all about. Oh, he's blaming it on Los Angeles now. Now, the centerfold of Playboy Magazine, of course, was famous for big pictures of, we'll be very scientific here, mammary glands. So, if you don't want to utilize this human body for what it's really meant for, what its advanced consciousness is really meant for, then nature, being equitable, says that take another body that matches your proclivities, matches your propensities, your desires. You may not have the karma to pay for the best type of body with those propensities, but you'll get something that suits you. Even with this human body, human bodies, as you know, are born in different circumstances. Some are very heavenly circumstances. Many people in the world think New Zealand is heaven. When I'm visiting some countries, they're having a tough time. I go to the immigration booth after I land, and I put down my New Zealand passport. Oh, I would love to go there. Oh, it must be heavenly there. I mean, you have to sympathize that persons want the best deal. They want the best body in the best place. So compared to where they live, maybe some war-torn place, you know, they want an upgrade. So instead of being born in New Zealand or wherever you were born, you could have been born in North Korea or Syria. So did you ever wonder what arranges all these different places that you can take birth in? Is it all by chance? No, Krishna is very strong in Bhagavad Gita about condemning the notion that it's all chance, like a roulette wheel. No, nature is orchestrating everything according to your desire and according to your karma paying power. Not just desire. Sometimes people think that it's all about the power of attraction. That's the secret. If you want something intensely enough, it'll happen to you. Maybe some of you thought like that, huh? It was a popular notion for a while. The secret. I remember one new agey type person explaining it. You're walking down the street and you're thinking intensely, I'd like a strawberry ice cream cone. And you're meditating on it. And then out of nowhere, a friend walks up to you and says, here, I've got a strawberry ice cream cone for you. That's magical thinking. So some people think that just by having desire, it all comes to you. But the yoga texts say, desire is just one component. You have to have the karmic paying power. Otherwise, everyone desires what? Happiness, a nice partner who will stick around, and good health. And everyone desires all that. But they're not getting it. Because even though they have the desire, they don't have the karmic finances to pay for that particular desire. If you start to consider this body as part of a sequence for your getting your next body, then you start to feel the responsibility. How do I act in this lifetime so I get the best possible body, the best possible deal in the next lifetime? I can't squander this present lifetime. But if you think this life is all that there is, you have great impetus just to squander. Everything comes and everything goes. I appear out of nothingness. I disappear into nothingness. Then you can be as irresponsible as you want. What does it matter? Why does anything matter? Nothing matters. Everything is matter. So nothing really matters. But that is not the version of the yoga knowledge. What you're dealing with is life after life. You've already seen that, as Krishna's pointed out. You've already seen that in this present body. Because actually, you're not just dealing with this present body. You've changed bodies so many times already. Why do you say death means no more body changes? This is very arbitrary, very dogmatic. It's a faith. I believe when the body is finished, that's it. That's a religious faith. You've already seen in this lifetime so many body changes, yet your core identity is basically the same. So therefore, Krishna is pointing out the obvious. Why do you think that death means the final change in the sequence? No more changes, that's it. No, death is just a portal to birth, and birth is a portal to death. So this is all revolving. So then you might say, well, what's the point of all this cycling? What's the point of all this going from one body to another. The point is to learn your lesson. Now we come to an interesting point here, because you've heard from many persons when they encounter various challenges, issues, and dramas in life. What do they say? It's all about learning. It's a learning process. And then, do you ever think to ask the persons who say that? By the way, I do agree with you. Life is a learning process. It's all about living and learning, right? Many of you remember saying like that? Live and learn. Sounds deep, doesn't it? Okay, we'll accept it as deep at first. But ask yourself, live and learn. Yes, but what's the lesson I'm supposed to learn? No one knows, but just live and learn. It's all about learning. Does anyone know the lesson? Does anyone know the lesson plan? You go to school, there's a lesson you're supposed to learn. And then you graduate. You say life is about living and learning? Okay, tell us the lesson. I don't know. It's like, it's like whatever you want to make it to. Whatever lesson you want to make it be, that's what it is. Oh, wow, that sounds profound, yeah. Having another cup of coffee. Inhale another. Right? The culmination of the yoga system means stopping the cycle of taking one material body after another. Of all the yoga practitioners, how many know that? Many understand that yoga is the finest system of exercise. Its asanas help your physical health. Its breathing exercises, the pranayama, helps counter stress. I do it all myself. But how many understand that the real gift of the yoga system begins with removing you from the cycle of taking one body after another? Now you might say, well, hey, wait a minute here. What's wrong with taking one body after another, You can do stuff with bodies, whether it's a human body or a pigeon body or a rabbit body. You do stuff, But consider it this way. Material bodies of whatever type inhibit your pleasure-seeking capacity, because bodies always get in the way of continuous pleasure. You may have never thought about this, but your body can't handle your core being's desires for unlimited pleasure without break. Your physical body, no matter what kind of body you have, can't accommodate that program. So the very body that you think is a gift for enjoyment is actually getting in your way when you understand the spiritual knowledge. The body blocks the non-material particle of consciousness. The body blocks the expression, your non-material expression and longing for pleasure without interruption. Because you are a spirit soul having a human experience. That human experience is like a shell that impedes or interferes with your unchanging desire for pleasure. I know this is, when I think about it, it's kind of challenging, isn't it? Wait a minute, my body is like a gift for enjoyment. It's what I use to grab stuff and interact with stuff, and it's got senses, and I use those senses to please me. But when you think about it, the body is very deficient at non-stop enjoyment. Without even questioning the value of the types of enjoyment, just consider how the body interferes with that. Just think of your favorite pleasure with the body. Don't say it. Can you, okay, you were thinking about scuba diving, I know. So, can you do that nonstop 24/7 without hurting yourself or going crazy? Whatever your favorite bodily indulgence is, you can't just go on and on and on without some problem caused, severe problem, mentally, physically, financially. So that shows you the body is a mechanism of problems. The yoga texts understand this, but we think, no, the body is a gateway to pleasure. Who was the famous travel writer and culinary relisher who unfortunately, tragically, took his own life a couple of months ago? Anthony, yes. He was the envy of journalists around the world. When he took his own life, so many journalists I saw from all over the world said, he was the one person I wanted to be like. Traveling to exotic places, doing exotic things, eating exotic foods. What a life. But he, at the peak of fame and glory, he took his own life. He made a very famous statement, which the yogis completely disagree with. He said, your body is not a temple. Your body is an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. You might think, well, that sounds kind of good, what's the problem? Yeah, the body is an amusement park. Enjoy the ride. Yeah, I could get into that, yeah. The body is a temple? Oh, that sounds very dry and sounds kind of like religious beliefy. Yeah. Body's a temple. That doesn't sound like much fun at all. But the body as an amusement park, now sign me up for that. But with yogic knowledge, we see that the body actually blocks our eternal expression for genuine happiness. The body gets in the way. It just allows you some sputtering experience. But we're so desperate for enjoyment. We get so happy. I had a sputtering experience, a flickering experience. It's like you're trying to light a fire, and you can never get the blaze going, but at least you get the wood to, crackle a bit with some sparks. Wow, did you see that? I saw a few sparks come out. Wow. That's what our body does. It doesn't give that blazing inferno of pleasure that we long for so much. We want a big flame, a steady flame, a flame that gets hotter and hotter and hotter. At least that's what we see in the movies. But it's just not like that for us. We get a glimpse sometimes. Oh, the sparks are becoming flames. But then the fire dies out. The intelligent person understands. I'm struggling with a mechanism that is actually blocking my pleasure. Does this mechanism have another purpose? And yes, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that the purpose of your body is self-realization, enlightenment. Now you might say, well, I've got senses. My senses got to do stuff. Enlightenment, self-realization, isn't that some kind of theoretical, metaphysical stuff way up in the clouds? And here I am down on the ground, you know, with a tongue that wants to slurp stuff, eyes that want to see stuff, skin that wants to feel stuff, ears that want to hear stuff, nose that want to smell stuff, and here you are talking about enlightenment, self-realization. I always point out, Friday night, Saturday night, come around, your friends are ready to head out, you know, to some pub or club or somewhere. They call you up, send you a message. Hey, you ready to come on out with us? It's 9 p.m., the night is still young. The nighttime is the right time, let's go for it. And what do you say? Not this weekend. I'll be striving for enlightenment and self-realization. They'll say, have you gone mad? I have to confess, I actually said like that to some of my friends back in my younger days. You know, it's like from New York, and so I was living in Manhattan. Not simply New York, but Manhattan, the center of it all. Action round the clock. Something to do 24/7. And so my friends, I was 21. Hey, you always know where the good times are. What's happening this weekend? I said, this weekend, I'll be reading Bhagavad Gita and contemplating self-realization. What's wrong with you? You got a disease? Well, you see, as some of you heard me explain before, my friends back then considered that I was the consummate pleasure lover. I always knew where the good times were. I'm sure many of you know persons like that. They know where the best events are, the best cafes, the best happenings around that night. So my friends felt we can always count on him. He knows how to let the good times roll. But I began to consider my reputation is not justified. If I don't know pleasure that's beginningless and endless, how can I be a genuine pleasure lover? I'm a cheat. I'm ingenuine. I'm bogus. So I began my quest for non-material pleasure. It didn't take me much to understand that this body actually is not an instrument of pleasure. It's a problem blocking the pleasure. It doesn't simply get old and die on you. It gets sick. It gets hit with physical diseases, mental diseases. It gets hit with stress and anxiety. Yet, somehow or other, we've eaten deeply at the table of illusion, thinking, this body is meant for my satisfaction. So the yogis want to get over this body thing. And how do they do that? By denying their body. Everyone's afraid of that. I'm not going to deny my body. It's not natural. Well, what is natural? It's natural to indulge the body. How do you know? So Bhagavad Gita teaches you that it is not natural to indulge the body or deny it. What is natural is to use your body as a device for enlightenment and self-realization. Just like a surgeon's knife. A surgeon's knife can be used to cause great horror in the hands of a criminal, and the surgeon's knife can be used to cause good by healing someone when the surgeon's knife is in the hands of an expert surgeon. So everything depends on your use or misuse. So bhakti yoga is not about just denying the body, nor it is about indulging the body. It's about understanding the body has a higher purpose than denial or indulgence. It's an instrument meant to bring us to the ultimate goal of life. And that ultimate goal of life begins with doing something about nature's pushing you around. How many of you like to be pushed around by someone? I don't think it's happened to many of you at all. You're walking on the street and someone just comes up to you and gives you a shove. Maybe you were subjected to being bullied in school or something like that, but otherwise, it's considered very rude and brutal just to shove someone. But nature is shoving us around all the time, yet we think we're free. We're getting hit with things out of our control. Not simply hunger and thirst, but we're hit with lust and greed and envy. What to speak of? We're drowning in illusion. We don't know what we are or who we are, yet we want to be happy. Isn't that crazy? So the yogi wants to do something about that. And at the top rung of the yoga ladder, you find bhakti yoga, in which you're striving for the ultimate connection, recognizing you are the part and you must have connection to that complete whole. Then, as we often point out, you can truly be holistic. To be really holistic, you need knowledge of what the whole package is. Otherwise, you're just using those words. Holistic health, holistic food. It's very trendy, but where's the knowledge? The ultimate goal of yoga is to connect, but to connect with what? Therefore, the bhakti yoga system gives you the knowledge of the ultimate connection. Points out to you that that ultimate connection is unlimitedly attractive. It explains to you how Krishna attracts everyone and everything because of qualities, activities, personality. How can you deny that that's there in the ultimate source? Otherwise, how can it be in you? You're just a tiny emanation from that source. How can you have more than what the ultimate source has? But Krishna's personalism is not like your personalism. You're very tiny. Krishna's personalism is unlimited. But we can't understand that with our tiny material bodies and minds. Therefore, we need to take shelter of the Bhakti Yoga system, as Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, and then we can start to understand that ultimate connection, thrive in that ultimate connection, experience it with purified consciousness, not our ordinary consciousness. And our ordinary consciousness means I'm this body. This body is an instrument for my pleasure. It's an amusement park. That is, thinking like that is not the real purpose of the human body. When we think like that, we don't deserve a human body again. The real purpose of the human body is to go higher. So please think about this. You've already changed bodies so many times in this lifetime. It used to be that scientists thought that there's some cells in the body that don't change. Maybe 25 years ago, the popular conception in the scientific world was that the brain cells that you have basically are they stick with you all your life. But now, it's commonly accepted that's not true. Even the brain cells change. So everything in your body is changing, yet your core being is the same. So why then do you think death means that's it, no more? You've already been through deaths in that. Your baby body has died, so to speak. Your teenage body has died. But you're still here. So just try to look at things from a different angle, a more logical angle. But even if you want to just consider things in this way, that why should I consider the change of body known as death to be the end? I can also go to the other way, go the other route, that death is not the final change of the body. So what's molding me, brainwashing me, pushing me to go this way instead of that way? Let me be open to all possibilities. And better than being open is, let me get some knowledge. So we just wanted to introduce to you tonight some basic concepts of Bhagavad Gita. And we hope that some of you will be inspired to go deeper. In summary, please remember some key points. The body is not your gateway to pleasure. It's blocking your pleasure. Oh, that's a radical thought, isn't it? My body is blocking my pleasure? You're going to tell that to your partner tonight? Hey, guess what, our bodies are blocking the pleasure. Quick way to end the relationship. Hey, it's a novel way of getting rid of someone out of, Hey, we've been together for a couple of months, but I've realized, that our bodies are blocking the pleasure. What? Get out of my life. But seriously, there's so much we can learn from the Bhakti Yoga knowledge, and I hope that some of you, at least, will take it seriously, and those who are already making progress on that path will go deeper. Thank you very much.